Hello, my name is Cheyenne Meadows, and I'm the High Ability Learning Specialist at the Nebraska Department of Education. Today's How Hack, we're going to be talking about how to add complexity to an already existing lesson as a low prep differentiation strategy. Today, we're going to be talking specifically about how adding a law or a theory makes your lesson more complex for high ability students. So complexity is just making them stretch their thinking. So when you think about adding a law or a theory, which is pretty general and pretty irrefutable, when you examine that in relation to a content, it really stretches their thinking and it promotes kind of taking that concrete knowledge and moving it into the abstraction realm. So they have to think more broadly about it. And a lot of times this causes creation of novel ideas, such as writing their own laws or theories, or writing generalizations that are always true. So it creates this complex level of thinking that will really stretch them. So, and the great thing about this strategy is you can use it on an already existing lesson. You don't have to write something brand new for these high ability students. You can use this really simple strategy in order to build on it. So we're going to start by, I took an already existing lesson from one of the HQIMs, and it's Flowers for Algernon. And this is going to be, I actually taught this lesson when I was doing Flowers for Algernon with gifted and talented students. So it works and I really like it. So I'm going to give you guys this example of how adding a theory really makes it complex. So as you'll see on the left, this is the lesson plan that was written for all students for the general education classroom. So they're going to investigate the different theories of intelligence. And so instead of reading, as you'll see later, the article that they are giving the general education students is less than a page long. It's really simple. We're going to give the high ability students, there's an article that I'm going to show you later about Freud's psychoanalytic theory of ID, ego, and superego. And so that's what we're going to give our high ability students. So already we're taking the reading, we're upping the reading level, we're also upping the kind of cognitive level in terms of ability to manage such a complex psychoanalytic theory. So on this lesson, you'll see the teacher plans to read aloud to the general education classroom. So have your gifted and talented students read independently this Freud's famous theory on common lit. So while the teacher is reading aloud this short little article for the general education students, you can put your high ability students on the computer to read this article on common lit. And in their journal, instead of taking notes here, they should take notes on the article that they're reading because it is really dense. So if they can just pick out, and this also gives them, it's a scaffold, it gives them the ability to pick out exactly the information you need them to have. So the reading level on the article is 10th or 11th grade. So giving them that scaffold and that support for saying this is what you're looking for in this article helps them not get lost in all of the different words and confusion in that article. So you're giving them what they need to look for. This is a screenshot from Common Lit, and if you don't use Common Lit, it is so great. There are so many different sorts and ways to look for things. So what's really great about Common Lit also is not only do they do a good job of explaining things, but there's these numbers here, and these are words that students might not know. They're vocabulary words. So if they click on them, it'll give them a definition. So that really helps your gifted and talented students. If they're reading this on their own, that really helps them get through it. If you have a lot of time in your lesson, you can also have them discuss with one another or in their journals kind of these guiding questions or assessment questions, just so you can see where they're at in terms of understanding. So Common Lit has a lot of really great tools. So I had them read this Freud's famous theory. Again, it's about ID, ego, and superego and how they make up a personality. So instead of what everybody else is doing in their journal is revising a response from the previous day and using a quote from the story about why they think that Charlie learns and questions intelligence. So for your high ability students, since they read that different article, you give them this other prompt here, write a paragraph about the state of Charlie's psyche using a piece of evidence from the novel and a piece of evidence from the article. So that makes that way harder and more complex for them, because not only do they have to take this abstract psychological theory and apply it to the novel that they're currently reading, they also have to use evidence from each, and making those connections is kind of difficult. The students that I taught, they loved it though. They were really into the psychological side of it, but it really does stretch their thinking, and it's hard. It takes them time. So that is just one example of how adding to your existing lesson plan a law or a theory makes it much more complex for those high ability students. Another example, this is more maybe towards the elementary science. If you're teaching a lesson that is, this is one of the basic standards, list characteristics or adaptations that help animals survive in their habitat and how that helps them survive. And so again, instead of that rote memorization and just listing off the adaptations, for your high ability students, ask them to examine the laws of nature. And here's this fun little chart that you can give them. These are the 4 laws of nature, so you can give them these. So, these are the existing laws of nature. Think about those, maybe discuss them. One of the things they love to do is try to disprove things that they think, disprove things that are supposed to be kind of bulletproof. So they'll argue about these, which is really fun to listen to. And for them, based on their observations about animals and habitats, have them try to write their own law of nature to explain how animals survive. And what's really important to note is that a law of nature is always true. So whatever they come up with as their law of nature has to be irrefutable. And so thinking through that process of creating a statement that is true all the time is really difficult, but they have so much fun with it. It's such a challenge. And if you have more than one high ability student, it's really great to have them discuss, because they like to poke holes in each other's statements. So having that, taking that, this is what we know about animals and adaptations, and applying it to the general knowledge of kind of like the global knowledge of nature is really complex. And so that adds that extra challenge that those students need. So they're not bored with just the rote listing characteristics and adaptations. As always, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email at cheyenne.meadows@nebraska.gov. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you at the next How Hack.